Good morning. My name is Krystle Greene, and we are going to do a social media training. We're going to discuss how to build your network and through engagement posts and how to follow up through those engagement posts in Messenger today. If you don't know who I am, I'm a social media influencer. I've built a following of over almost 200,000 followers in less than a couple years here on Facebook. I've authored a book. It's called Mastering the Algorithm: 10 Proven Strategies to Boost Your Facebook Presence and Attract More Followers, as well as a few other books. But that one's really special because I incorporated that book, I wrote that book through the lessons I've learned while finding different things to incorporate on my journey with social media. I also, I've trained countless people on my proven algorithm boosting strategy, which I'm going to share with you here today. I've reached top global sales and recruiter in multiple companies through social media platforms because of the work I've done and how I've been able to allow my social media platforms to work for me. And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. And I've taken some notes, so you'll see me look down. And if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments for us, and we'll address those a little later. This is recorded, so you can definitely go ahead and share that with folks. And if you have any questions specific to what we're training here, and you're not necessarily in my organization, if you don't have a way to directly connect with me, you can do that on Facebook if you'd like. Otherwise, strategicsuccess.kg@gmail.com is my email. And I'll list that too when I share the recording. So, okay, so let's talk about characteristics of a healthy social media, well, to have social media success, okay? And I'm actually going to pull it right out of my own book. So we're going to talk, and some of you might already have this, but I'm going to share some tidbits that I share actually in my book. Not all of them, but we'll touch base on some of the ones I find most important. And so the number one thing I would say for social media, and before we get started, I'm going to tell you this. I'm not going to teach you how to do those things. I'm teaching you what to do. If you'd like to know how, we may need a one-on-one, or Google has always been my best friend. I just got on the platforms. I started Googling how to do things, and then I got on the platform itself, as in Facebook. And that's what we're specifically talking about today, is the Facebook platform. Um, and I just toggled with it until I figured it out. And so today I'm going to teach you what to do, but not necessarily how to do that. At the end, if you have certain specific questions about how to do those things, I'll try to do my best to give you a quick, direct answer for that. But we'll start with what to do. Okay, so in order to have, or what are the characteristics and habits of a successful social media account? Well, the first thing is mindset. And when I say account, I mean yourselves, right? So my Facebook page is not necessarily a business page. It's not necessarily a personal page. It's kind of both. I feel that what I do with direct sales, network marketing, it's directly impacted to or influenced by who I am. And the people that are in my network or join my team or in our organization, they join not because of the product I sell, but because of who I am as a person, because of my character. And so it's important that when you approach your social media page, that you focus on having and cultivating a positive mindset. You have to have a positive mindset when jumping in, because first of all, it's social media. And I think we've all probably fallen victims to those that just kind of comment on post and say whatever they want. I got picked on for my thumb the other day. And I kind of chuckled because I said, wow, okay, if I didn't have a positive mindset, if I didn't have the mindset of there's always going to be someone who comments on there that maybe doesn't necessarily belong in my network, that may have bothered me. Instead, I just kind of chuckled and I said, yeah, it's a thumb. So embrace a growth mindset. And so what does that mean? If you're the first step to success on Facebook is to embrace that growth mindset. And that's the belief in your own abilities. That's the belief that through hard work and dedication, you can truly cultivate something beautiful on your social media platform. And the reality is you have to decide what you want to use that for. Now, in this case, we're talking about Super Patch, right? So we want to use our social media, number one, to influence based on our personalities, our characters, who we are as people, but we also, and that influence and connect, I should say. That's what allows us to have influence and connection with people and to relate with others. But we also want to be able to use that platform to generate new leads for customers or future associates, team members. Okay. And so in order to do that, you have to be able to step into this knowing, okay, it's going to take a little time. Okay. I always say I was building on social media for years, probably 10 years before I finally figured out what the algorithm liked. And within that time frame, I went from 1,400 to over 100,000 followers in less than a year. And it was just a few switches, a few things that kind of started to make sense for me. And I decided, okay, well, this is going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of dedication, consistency, and I have to have a plan. Okay. So in the mindset of growth mindset, or in that in the growth mindset, a planning comes into play with that as well. You have to know what you want out of your social media. If you're just out there to get likes and views, you could post kind of anything. If you're out there to connect with individuals and make a positive impact and influence and also drive, excuse me, excuse me, the type of people you would like, meaning attract the type of people you would like into your social media or into your team or into your customer base, it's important that you embrace number one, a growth mindset, but two, you have a plan of what that looks like for you. And then of course, focus on your journey. Don't get caught up on comparing yourself to other people. Don't get caught up in, oh, that person has more following, because I'll tell you what, following doesn't necessarily mean engagement. Following doesn't necessarily mean results. It doesn't, I've got 200,000 followers, and I'll tell you right now, I don't have 200,000 customers yet. So it doesn't necessarily equate to one or the other. And don't get stuck in comparing, well, that person has more people commenting and that person has more friends or followers on their list. Because what I'm going to teach you in a little while with my algorithm booster, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. It'll increase the amount of followers you have, but it doesn't matter how many followers you have to make it work, because that's what's beautiful about social media is it's not necessarily people that you're directly connected with, but the impact and the reach that you can make on a global standpoint. Okay. So focus on your journey. Don't get stuck in, well, that person must make a lot of sales because they have a following. It's not true. It's not true. The reality is the engagement and the consistency and the effort that you put into there. If you see someone with a large following, or you see someone, well, let's look at myself. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of trial and error. It took learning and doing personal development and reading and researching and trying things that didn't work and feeling out of my comfort zone to finally find a rhythm and a groove that fit for me. And so my goal throughout this training for you is to kind of enable you with some of those traits, enable you with some of those, with the mindset you have to continue so that you can build on it. And if your goal is to build a larger following, if you follow the steps that I give you, you will do that. If your goal is to engage with the current following you have, again, the same thing. If you follow my steps, I promise you, you will do that. But it takes consistency. So you have to have the mindset of, okay, I'm going to focus on my own journey. I'm going to embrace that growth mindset. I know that in order to do this, work has to be put in. And I think the same thing applies to social media growth as it does to network marketing, in the sense of we have to plant seeds. And in this case, the seeds that you plant are the engagement that you put out there. So whether that's commenting on your post or commenting on other people's posts, engaging in Messenger, or making sure that you have good content out there, you still want to make sure, excuse me, that's how you're going to engage with people. The other one would be hold yourself accountable. Again, it takes consistency. I'm not telling you that you have to spend 24 hours a day on social media, although it may look like I do. It may look like I do. But I'll teach you a few things that what I do to make it appear that way so that I can function in my everyday life. I'm a disabled mom of five. I am a leader of a team with nearly 700 people. My phone is constantly ringing. My emails are constantly going off. I don't have time to spend all day on social media. And so, what I teach with the algorithm boosting strategy, which I will share with you, what I teach with that is how to capitalize on your time without having to invest all of your time. Okay. But it does take holding yourself accountable, because it is daily tasks. And, we put this in our DMO, and this would be for another conversation. We could do another training on DMOs, but your daily method of operation, this is something that will just go right into there and fit into your daily method of operation, so that you can do these little steps every day and help increase your engagement, help increase your following, help increase your customer base, the people that are commenting, the folks that comment. And it also helps to qualify more people. You're going to start attracting the kind of people you want to engage with your post. And that just it just takes some time and consistency to do that. Staying positive, never giving up, making sure that you have that grit mentality of, okay, I have to be able to focus on my task, and I have to be able to put the time into that, and I'm not going to allow any excuses. So if that means I'm making a quick post while we're jumping in the car, or I'm cooking supper and I'm responding to a couple messages, um, maybe that's what it looks like for me, as a busy mom of five. If it's for you, it could be getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, taking a half an hour, doing your DMO list, getting your things done, and then checking back throughout the day. You could be a night owl that only checks in the evenings. It's just about finding what works best for you, because this is your social media. This is your network. And when you start to invest yourself and really think intentionally about, what do I want out of my network? What do I want out of this platform? And if that is, maybe it's you want to have a voice, you're called to lead. Maybe you're called to be funny. Maybe you want to just make people laugh. Maybe you feel, this is my platform and the only thing I want to talk about is Super Patch. There's different things. I don't advise that, by the way, just talking about your business, because our business is our life. Super Patch is not our life. We incorporate Super Patch and what we do here into our daily lives. And so for me, I think a page, corporate already has a page that's just about Super Patch, right? Your journey with Super Patch is what makes you unique and what drives your network to follow you. And that also means follow you in the sense of customer and associates. So mindset is key. Being authentic. So we're going right into that. You have to figure out who you are. You have to figure out who you are and what you want in there. What are things that I want to share with my audience? What are things that I want my audience to know about me? And that does not mean, now I'll say this, it does not mean that you have to tell your life story. You get to choose what parts of you share. But I promise you, when you're authentically sharing the parts of you that you want the world to see, versus trying to be something you're not, it'll happen more gracefully for you. Okay. And so here's some few ideas to be authentic, right? So know your audience. So knowing and understanding your target audience is the first step in creating authentic content. Well, if you were to look at my page, my audience, or the people that I speak to the most, are followers. They're folks that, want to be uplifted and enlightened. They want to be empowered and educated. They want real. A lot of those people are of disabilities. A lot of those people are network marketers. And this is just all bits and pieces of myself that I've put out there over time. So I've cultivated the audience that I want. I've grown them. I've planted the seeds over years, and I'm not telling you that this will take years. That's the beautiful thing. It's not going to take years for you to build, but over the years, I've well, for lack of better words, mastered it. Share your story. Share your story. And we talk about this all the time with Super Patch, but share your story. People want to hear. People are nosy a little bit, but your story is going to inspire other people. Okay? If you've been someone that struggled, and the people just on the screen right now, and I know many, many, many others that'll watch this later, we will inspire just through the story that we have with our experience with Super Patch. How many of you could say, I had pain and now I'm not in as much pain? I had trouble sleeping and now I don't have a hard time sleeping. I had trouble with balance and now I don't struggle with it. My kid wasn't focusing in school. Now they are. My husband was grumpy. Now he's not. all of us can relate to that. And then think about the mass amount of the society that will relate to that as well. That's why we have 12 different patches that reach 12 different issues, because they're all common pain points. And so when you share your story, but you're authentically sharing it, it doesn't have to be embellished. It doesn't have to be something you're not. You just show up as you. And the trickery of that is your mind and the world will teach you, well, no one wants to hear that. You got to be this person. You got to show up how they want you to. And the reality is it's never going to work, because every time you show up, you're going to be sweating bullets. You're going to be shaking a little bit. And sometimes that happens even when you're being authentic, but it's a lot harder to present yourself when you're being something you're not. And so just live out your story, share your story, and be honest and transparent. I'm not telling you, tell them your whole life. There are certain parts of you that you really should keep to yourself. There are certain parts of you that you shouldn't share because the enemy's watching. Okay. That's just the reality of it. But the pieces that you choose to share of yourself, make sure that you are being genuine about it. Because when you do that, when you're transparent, when you're open, when you're authentic in yourself, that's what's going to attract the people into your network. That's what's going to attract the people onto your team. It's going to attract the people into Messenger. And I'm not just talking about building relationships. In fact, today I got to wake up to some mail today. And I should probably, hopefully I didn't show her address there, but it's a gal I met on social media here. She's actually on our team. She enjoys the discount, but she sends me cards and she sends me kind letters and support. And um if it wasn't for social media, if it wasn't for me being transparent, if it wasn't for me sharing myself authentically and feeling a little vulnerable at times, I wouldn't have connected with her. And she's a beautiful human being. She's such a great friend now. And this is someone I've never met in flesh, And so when you do that, you're going to engage with the right people. The right people are going to come into your network, your platform. But the reality is it's so much more than just building for followers or building for engagement or building for customers or building for new team members. You truly can make an impact on others' lives, and you can cultivate relationships that you otherwise wouldn't have if you were showing up as someone else. Okay. And then you get to engage with your followers a little bit, so being authentic and getting into the comments, and I'm not talking about just the emoji comment or those. I'm talking about meaningful conversations. Have meaningful conversations that start in some of your posts in the comment section. People are waiting to talk to you. And so if you've got people commenting, it's because you're already making an impact. And so continue to do that. And then of course, take a stand. What does that mean? Taking a stand means, it's not just about I'm going to show up this way on social media because I want people to see me this way. It means cultivating an entirely different lifestyle for yourself of what you want. Okay. And this goes back to the mindset of things. Who are you and what do you want out of your social media? Because I could teach you all day long all the spammy tactics that you need to get people into the inbox. And I could teach you all the spammy tactics that you need to send out tons of scripted messages and hopefully get 1 in 100 people to comment or to click on your link and to order. I could teach you all the spammy tactics to only come live when you want to share your business and things like that. But the reality is if you want genuine growth and development there, lasting relationships, people that will go to the end of the earth for you, then you need to show up authentically. You need to show up authentically. And then posting high quality content. High quality content doesn't mean you spent a bunch of money to have someone create post for you, or you have a content creator that's showing up in your page and doing everything for you. It doesn't mean that you've spent, $1,000 on ad campaigns or anything like that. It means providing value for your readers, right? Think of your social media as like a magazine, right? People check in daily to get tidbits, and that could be that they want to laugh. That could be that they want to be inspired. That could be that they want to learn. But when you use it for good and not bad, so I'll tell you, when I say bad, I mean there's a point in my journey that the only time I would come on social media was to share when I was going through heartache. And of course, I always wanted to share a message with folks, but I was connecting to them at their lowest selves in that sense of what I have to be careful. I'll get too enlightened on these on these. I have to stay very on point, but the reality is I wasn't using it in ways that uplifted and encouraged me. And when I was coming out there, while they could relate to me, I wasn't adding value to their lives. And if there's anything I've learned through 15 years in network marketing, through countless trainings in sales and corporate marketing, through my experience of being on a reality TV show for entrepreneurs, it's that value is what connects people to you all the time. If you cannot add value to someone's life, they're likely not going to continue to engage in the ways that you want them to. So provide value. Make sure that the things that you're posting on your page are relevant. You can't post one day, and this is the truth, okay? And this might trigger some folks, especially watching later. You can't be F-bomb this, F-bomb that one day and post the most raunchiest of things, and then be enlightened the next. It's too manic. You can't do it. You got to choose who you are and your identity, and some of that comes from figuring it out before you start on your journey for growing in social media. Make sure it's well written and well researched. Do not now listen. People will tell you stay out of religion, stay out of politics. I believe, yeah, it depends on who you are as a person and how confident you are in that statement. Okay. And the reality is as long as you know what you're putting out there is authentic to you and you've done your research and you have the information to back, much like what we post with Super Patch, you'll be okay. But if you're just out there just to post to have content and no value, no research behind it, people are going to rip you apart. And that's the unfortunate truth about, we call them keyboard warriors. That's the unfortunate truth about folks, because not everyone is there to see you win. Not all of the people watching are there to see you win either. And so it's important that you stay relevant. You make sure what you're posting is relevant to what you're trying to share and that there's value behind it, because that's really what they're looking for. And then, when you're looking at like, what kind of content do I want to post? Make sure that you're experimenting with different formats. It might be what you're figuring out during this time is, what does my network want? But you also have to value that and weigh it out to, what do I want for my network as well? Okay. And I've done this. In fact, most of you should not scroll 10 years back on my page because I was a different person then. The reality is I've done this over the years. I've tried to figure out who I was. I was in different industries, lost and confused about who I was. My heart was always driving me. So the value and the authenticity was there, but I was still lost in trying to figure it out. And I figured out that, my audience really likes to be inspired. And so that's what I do. I use my story to inspire them. But I had to figure out, is that by lives? Is that by reels? Is that by posting? Is that by me being in groups? What was that? And for each person, it's going to be a little different. But that's where taking that time and being intentional about what you want out of your platform, you need to have a plan. You need to say, okay, in a year's time, I want to entirely cultivate an environment. Now, if you think of your platform as a community, if you think of your Facebook page as a room people walk into, or, a magazine that they open up and they read, if you think of it in that way, then you really just have to consider, okay, in a year's time, what do I want for my community? What do I want it to look like? Who are the people I want to attract? And it really is an attraction thing. Who are the people I want to attract to my team, to my life, to my friends list? And I'm not just talking about the one you have on social media. I'm talking about real life friends, people that write you cards and send you letters just to uplift you. And then generating engagement, making it shareable. So what does that mean? Posting things that people want to comment on, posting things with questions, posting things that people go, aha, I should share that because that makes sense. Relatable content, And you can encourage you can encourage engagement through many different avenues, right? You can encourage engagement just by posting something funny. Okay. With Super Patch, a lot of the time our engagement is like, who struggles with pain? Who struggles with, balance? Who struggles with mood? Who struggles with sleep? Who struggles with focus? Who struggles with this? And people will comment because they are pain points. Those are things that people really truly are like, that's me. That's me. And that's the beauty of what we do with Super Patch, though, is the fact that we really do have something that no one else has. We really do have a solution for things that no one else can offer. And they don't know about it unless you talk about it. And that's something I've had to discover as well in myself, and something I'm getting back to, if I'm being transparent with you, on my own social media platform. I was very heavily built. I told you I've built to top global leader, recruiter, salesperson, all these things in different companies because of my social media platform. But once I got into a habit and got comfortable getting into just my organization or just our community here with Super Patch and Miracle Workers or things like that, I stopped sharing as much on my platform. And so I went with the assumption that they just knew what I was doing. And the reality is they don't. They don't. And I'm going to say something that seems very blunt, but the truth is people aren't that invested in what you're doing. Okay. And that's nothing personal against you. And it's something I've had to learn along the ways. It's just that people are focused on what they need to get done. And unless it's in their face, unless they're reminded of it daily, unless they open that magazine or walk into that room and they're smacked in the face with, hey, Super Patch, in a nonchalant way that they can relate to, okay, they're not going to know what you're doing. I can't expect my network to know I have an organization of nearly 700 people, right? If I don't talk about it. I can't expect my network to know that I'm still with Super Patch if I don't talk about it. That I'm still wearing the technology if I don't talk about it. Okay? So it's important. The thing about social media is you're reminding them every single day what you do. And some folks will say, well, if I scroll her page, all I see is Super Patch, or I see this, or I see that. Well, the reality is I show up every single day for that. And so what they're doing is they're looking at days at a time. They're not just looking at one day where I made 12 different Super Patch posts. They're scrolling through. They're scrolling through and seeing all of the articles, right? The magazine example, exactly. They're seeing all of the articles every day that you've posted along the way. And so if it seems overwhelming for them, it's because they're on your page. But if you're not posting consistently, if you're not posting every single day, okay, and that's the truth, every single day doesn't, and I'll teach you ways to not have to be on it every single day. But if you're not doing that consistently, they don't know. You have to remind them. Think of it like your patches. You take that patch off, your body forgot about it. It needs that reminder. Okay, it needs that reminder of that code, of that pattern. Okay, well, social media is the same thing. It's just a pattern. It's just a pattern that you get into play. It's a structure that you set up so that you can specifically cultivate the environment and the community that you want. Okay, and it really is a community. When you come onto my platform, okay, when you come into my social media community, Facebook community specifically, there's a vibe. You can't come on my page and not feel it. If you come on my page on Facebook, you're going to know what my motives are. You're going to know who I am as far as I've let people see, right? Now, that doesn't mean I have to spill all the tea. Doesn't mean I have to tell all the family secrets and drama. I got to tell you, my 19-year-old's making me turn gray. I don't have to share all that stuff, because I intentionally post what I need to. Now, that does not make me fake. Doesn't mean I'm pretending to be something I'm not. It's just I'm choosing to show the parts of people or parts of me to my community that I choose to show, which also helps me to be more authentic. It helps me to feel more comfortable when I do come live and things like that, because the reality is as much as they don't necessarily care about your business, it's none of their business. And so be cautious about the amount of you that you do share, because a lot of folks that get into, well, I'm going to build my platform up and I'm going to share so that, I can cultivate more customers or associates or this or that. They feel like they have to share every aspect, every high, every low, every second of their day. And truly the best influencers and the people that are most successful online make you feel like that's happening, but it's not the truth. You're not getting every part of me, even if you feel like you are. And that's where the strategy comes in. That's where making sure you have a plan, you see who you want to be, how you want to be represented, and you show up in that light, in that capacity. And so, but yes, definitely making sure that I share the parts of me that I'm most comfortable sharing is what's helped me along the way. When I used to come online and I used to cry about this issue and that issue, or I'd share and I would share everything. There was no what's the word I'm looking for? People, there was no need to get into further conversation with me. There was no elusiveness. There was I was sharing everything. So by the time I already spoke to them, and you guys, listen, I've had people that have watched me for years. I'm talking years, like 9, 10 years have been in my social media realm, that it took them 8 years to finally decide, I think I'll join her. And maybe she'll watch this later because she's on our team as well. She's director here. But I think of Tiffany, and not in a creepy way. So let's just say that her and I are great friends now. But she lived a couple towns over from me, and she watched my life for 8 years. 8 years. We were connected through social media until she finally was like, oh, I think I'm going to jump in here. I see, she's been doing this consistently, and she's evolved, right? And that's what kind of was the deciding factor, was when I started to show up as me. And when I started to show up as me, my whole platform changed. I went from 1,400 to 100,000 in no time. I'm now approaching 200,000 followers on there. My reach is over between 19 million and like 60 million every month. It depends on how many, what I'm posting, if I get caught in the cycle of sharing things that, everybody else is sharing. Once I started to do that, my views, once I started to really shift, and this is something I want you to keep in mind as well. When I started to shift into who I want to be and how I want to be represented on social media and in life, okay, my views went down. My followers, I dropped 1,000 followers here and there, then they'd build back up, and then I drop a few and they'd build back up. And when I look at that, when I see that's happen, and now I can kind of pattern it. But when I saw that happening at first, I was like, uh-oh, maybe I should have stayed with that version of myself that they liked. But that version of myself that they liked at that time, I couldn't authentically show up as me. I was struggling in that sense. And so I took we'll lose a few followers here and there. And I took, the concept of my engagement might be down for a little while, and I exchanged that for my values, and I exchanged that for my morals, and I exchanged that for my well-being. I exchanged that for my own personal development, and everything started to go on the peak. Okay? And that's where the followers really just started to grow. But consistency, making sure that, when you do post and you are getting that engaging content. Sorry, I went off a little bit. But when you're posting that content, that post that you want people to engage on, you're intentionally doing that, and you have some form of call to action. So if you go on my social media, and I would encourage all of you just to snoop in there a little bit, stalk me a little bit, scroll ways, right? Watch how I engage. Okay. And not every post is an engagement post, so you won't see me comment on as many in certain areas. But when you see things like who here could use, and I'll post one today about our peace patch. But when you see things like who here who could use stress management, I'll be holding a patch. Okay. There's always a call to action. Comment peace, say peace. And I got away from the words comment because the algorithm picks that up. So I say peace, drop peace down down below, and I'll do a little emoji. Okay. But I always know what I'm going to do from that point. And I'll teach you that strategy here in a couple minutes as well. I just want to get through the couple points that I had for you. And I hope I'm not going too fast. I hope that you're finding this relevant. And if you want a more in-depth look, let me just plug my book real quick. You can get my book. Because a lot of this is coming right out of the book. Okay. A lot of this is information that you can have at your hands for $19.99. I'm just kidding. I'm kind of kidding. It's really, really great. It's really a great collaboration of the things that I've done over the years that have helped me be successful in that way. But the only way they're successful is if I'm consistent. If I'm not consistent, it falls apart. Okay. If you have a job where you milk the cows and you're the only milker, okay, and let's look at that as our social media page. You're the only milker and you don't show up for a few days. I don't know what happens when you don't milk a cow for a few days, but I'm assuming it's not good. Okay. The same thing with your social media page. If you're not showing up every consistently, whatever that looks like for you, it's going to fall apart. It's going to fall to pieces. So I use things. These are some things that I use to help me. I use a content calendar. Okay. And what a content calendar is really just like, what do I want to do? You know, what should I post about every single day? And I'm not going to go through them. I do have 100 days worth here of content, you know, things like share a personal story that inspired you, post a motivational quote or message, share behind the scenes look at your daily routine, share a book or a movie recommendation, share a product or service you love and why you'd recommend it. People love to put in their input. People love to hear your opinions on things. So share it, talk about it, you know, ask questions to your network like, where's the best place to go get your tires changed? Where's the best place to go to the park? What swimming beaches do you like? Where should I vacation? Think of and don't think small. Don't think the group of people you have locally around you that follow you on your social media. Think globally, because I will tell you, and the Bible will say it too, your hometown isn't where your support comes from. It's not. Like, and that's not the actual verbatim words, okay? But the reality is most people that know you don't support you in the ways that you'd hope they would. Okay? And some of my biggest supporters, my best runners in my teams over the years, my best friends have all come from what we've cultivated online and those meaningful relationships. Okay. But really, you know, having a content calendar, having a plan, it goes back to having a plan. If you're someone that can't think right off the whim, you can't think of, well, what should I post today? Google it. Google it. Look, we all know what Google is, right? Okay, most of us, actually all of us, were here during Ash Jeeves, and I don't know what was before that, the encyclopedia maybe, I'm not sure, but the reality is the reality is have a plan, figure it out. If you don't know, take some time, intentional time to do some research. Figure it out. Okay? And it's really not that difficult once you have that game plan. It's really not that difficult to say, well, today I will post about my cat. Today I will post about my adventure to Walmart or to Sam's Club for hot dogs, right? Jeanette. Today I will post about this or this or that, you know. But if you're not sure, if you're in a position where you're like, I don't know what to post, then content calendars can be your best friends. And while I have 100 days worth in here, I'll tell you what I did. I Googled it. I Googled it. I went out, I mean, a lot of them I was like, oh yeah, this will make a good content, you know, for a day, something I've done already. But there's so many different things that you can find online that are free resources to you. Just use them. Okay. And then when you have that content create calendar, it enables you to act on your plan. Okay. So you can be consistent. But again, don't just post things to post things. I really authentically, from the bottom of my heart, do not care what people use for, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something random for luggage. I don't. So I don't post on social media, what luggage should I get? Unless it's specific to something and part of for lack of better words, my agenda, right? If I'm going on a super patch event, or I'm going to a super patch, when I won Cabo and I was going to Mexico, then it makes sense to post things about questions about trips, because now I'm making sure that my message is getting heard through, hey, I want a trip. Would you like to? Okay. But in a creative way. In a creative way. You'll increase, we'll talk in a minute about how to increase your engagement, and that's where I'll share my strategy with you. But another thing would be to get an organized planner. Okay. Get a planner that works best for you. Get something that, for me, I like large print. I have to squint to look at anything anyway. For me, I like something that allows me to write my business goals, my personal goals, my family's needs, our appointments. I feel like I'm pretty much a secretary for every person in our household, so I need something that I can write on there. But I also need something that allows me to track my goals. Okay, so that's another thing. And there's many, many different planners out there. So just kind of take a peek. In fact, I've written one, but I also use two other ones. I'm that crazy person that has one in my purse. I've got one on my nightstand. I've got, my one that sits here on my desk. And the reality is because I'm tracking different parts of me, but I want to make sure I have something there that allows me to stay on top of my tasks. Or if you're someone that likes to check off list, laminating your DMO list, laminating something that you can highlight or check off with a dry erase marker. Those are always great too. So that way you can stay, again, consistent, because consistency is key. Consistency is key. Engagement, as far as increasing engagement on your social media, getting into groups that are relevant to you. Don't go out there and join every garage sale group. They used to teach this strategy in a different company I was with. Join every garage sale group possible and make as many business posts as possible. And I always struggled in some of that, because I was like, but how do I build a relationship with those people so that I can help them? And just give them your link. Just send them your link so that you can just, get more customers. And the reality is, and maybe it wasn't said that bluntly, but that's how I heard it, the reality is that I wanted to cultivate relationships with people. I wanted to discover what it is and how I can help those people. And that didn't come from getting into groups that were meaningless to me. That came from getting into groups like groups that focus on the conditions that I have, or groups that uplift and empower other people, groups that talk about network marketing and skill set, things that add value to my life. And ways that, I join groups that I can add value to as well. And again, it always comes back to value. It always comes back to, how can I enhance someone else's day? Even if the smallest form, even if that's a recipe or an encouragement for someone to eat a salad, because let's face it, there are some personal things I put on my page. We'll talk about, what did we have for dinner? What dressing would you have put on this? Is that really relevant to their life? No, but people like to give their opinions, and that's along the lines of the healthy life that I'm trying to cultivate for my family. So it still is within my authenticity, my morals, right? But participate in those Facebook groups. And I don't mean participate in those groups by commenting. I mean, or by commenting, oh, I share this, and I have this business, and I have this. I'm in a lot of groups for people with chronic illness. I'm in a lot of groups where every single person in that group, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, could benefit from our technology here at Super Patch. And I don't post about Super Patch. I don't. I want to connect and cultivate relationships in those groups. Those groups are truly something that takes time. And as you get in there and you're engaging in those comments, you're answering questions, you're posting, you're having mini conversations in the comment section, that will build up um excuse me, I'm trying, the word's not coming to me, but that'll enable you to be able to say eventually, hey Randall, we comment back and forth on this group all the time. We have so much in common. It feels like I'd love to chat, and support each other in a different way if we could. Let's add each other on Facebook. But that doesn't come from getting in there and commenting, I'll add you, I'll add you, I'll add you, I'll add you. Here's my link, here's my link. Oh, you should try this, spam this, tag this person. It doesn't work that way. Okay. And some of you may have come into this training today, especially those watching later, thinking she's going to teach us the tricks and it's all going to work right now. The reality is I'm teaching you how to build something sustainable. I'm teaching you a strategy that is going to enable the continued growth of your network and your business and your relationships and your personal life. I'm not teaching you a quick start, because the reality is it takes consistency. It takes dedication. It takes a positive mindset. It takes knowing what you're going to do. It takes a plan. Okay. Another thing that I will recommend is going live. Some of you might be cringing right now. It's okay. Breathe. Going live really is an incredible thing, especially when you have something like what we have to share. Now, I'm not telling you have to go live to be successful on social media. I'm not some of you might be like, "Why, I have 200 customers. I've never gone live in my life." That's great. That's great. Again, I'm coming back to the fact that my social media is more than just my super patch page. My plan for my account, my agenda for my account is my purpose. Okay. And in order to do that, they have to have me in different forms. Okay. It wouldn't be enough for me just to hand you guys all a copy of this book and not explain some of it, right? It wouldn't be enough. And again, listen, I made jokes earlier. I just want to say this. By no means do I expect anyone to purchase my book. I made jokes earlier, and I'm not saying that. The point is I wouldn't just hand you this book without having an explanation for you, or some of us might be able to read it and not make sense of it. To hear someone say it, to hear someone explain the patches, to hear your testimony. That's why I love voice texts, because you can hear my excitement. You can hear my emotion. Okay. And that's what doing lives, right? Radio broadcast, Randall, you can relate to this, right? Like, people have to hear your voice and hear that emotion behind it. They have to be able to imagine what you look like. They have to be able to imagine by the sound of your voice who you are as a person. Okay. When you can get them on a live, when you can show your face, and when you can show I'm a normal person, I'm shaken, or guys, I've had seizures on lives. I've shown some of the most vulnerable sides of my life on a live. I don't do that much anymore. Seizure wise, thank God, super patch. I'm telling you what, I've been seizure free for over a year. So I won't say anything, but I'm pretty sure my seizures were stress induced, and thanks to certain patches, I'm not dealing with it anymore. I'm not making claims. But the reality is when I go live and I share my testimony, when I go live and I talk about the technology, my engagement from my network, the people that connect with me, are on a whole different level. It's different than the folks that just comment on a post. These people really feel connected to you. When you go live, you have an opportunity to share that part of you that they can't read, because everyone in their own perception, right? They're going to read it however they're perceiving you and how they perceive the world. Okay. And some of those people could be like, great, she has more balance, but whatever. But when you hear it, I used to crawl from my bed to the bathroom. I used to fall in the shower. I used to have someone walk next to me all the time because I couldn't be alone. I used to not be able to play with my kids because I would be in bed all the time. Okay. That reads differently, or in the way they perceive you when you say it, when they can feel your emotion, when they can see the tears bellowing in your eyes. I don't know if that's the right word, but when they can feel it, it makes a greater impact. And so if you're someone that's like, absolutely no, the encouragement I'm going to make to you is 1, 2, 3, go, and just start talking. And here's the beautiful thing about it. You can always delete it. You can delete it. Okay. I don't now. I used to get so embarrassed, and I used to get so worried that someone was going to have an opinion that I would just like delete it quickly. But the reality is there's someone out there that's going to connect with you. And if it's only 1 in 200,000 followers or 1 in 19 million reach that I connect with, that's enough for me. That's enough for me. Okay. I heard a comedian say the other day that they're people call them a lazy comedian because they'll tell a joke, and if they get 2 or 3 people in the audience that laugh, that's enough. And I thought, gosh, that's me. If I could just get 2 or 3 people in the audience that feel connected, I'm all right. It's okay, because I knew that I impacted someone's life. I added value to their life. Okay. Now, there is a pattern to all of this. There is a pattern. to making sure that you stay consistent on the growth. I promise to teach you how to boost your Facebook algorithm, and I promise to teach you how to get more engagement. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you this is my algorithm boosting system. I'm very proud of this. This is really something that's helped me along the years. This is something that I've taken and over, how many different trainings, hundreds, thousands, maybe probably hundreds of trainings over the years of teaching, how to boost your algorithm, how to stay consistent, how to do this. And I finally just figured out what worked, and I put it into this acronym, and the acronym is BLIMP. And I'm going to share that with you. And it's not a beautiful slide. Okay, just so we're clear. It's not beautiful. It's just slide. All right, you guys see my slide? Jeanette, I see you on my screen. Just give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about the blimp system. And the blimp system being birthday, like, interact, message, +5. Okay, and so I'm going to teach you what that means. So birthday. Well, each of us want to find different ways to engage with our followers, with our friends, with our network. Sometimes it could feel really invasive to just send random messages, even if they're like, hey, I hope you're doing well today, because people always have an assumption, not always, but a lot of people have an assumption you're just reaching out because, you want to sell them something. Well, the blimp system allows you to cultivate relationships. Notice I didn't say is going to make you a ton of sales. That takes your personality. That takes you connecting with them. That takes you being a relatable person, and through discovery, which this system will help you through discovery. All that comes through this system. Okay. So this allows you, it's like opening the door to a relationship that hopefully will work out. Okay. So birthdays. What I do is I go to today's birthday in your Facebook search bar. And some of you might already have that pop up, but if you go to your Facebook and you type in birthdays, it'll pull up a whole list of whoever's birthdays are today. Now, some of you may be sitting on, a smaller platform, and that's okay. That's okay. I'll teach you a different way, but that's okay. Maybe you only have one birthday. Maybe you don't have any. Okay. Some of you might be sitting on 20 birthdays a day, right? What you're going to do then is and this is a little tedious, but over time it'll become quicker. Some people, when I start out, I say, you can get it done in 5 minutes. And then I'm reminded that not everyone is as versed in this system. And so it might take you a little longer. Plan, a little, depending on yourself, maybe 30 minutes a day to do your blimp system. Okay. But this is a structure, this is an algorithm boosting strategy that you need to do every single day. Okay, every single day, and it'll eventually just feel like part of your norm. It's going to be your DMO. Okay, so you go to birthdays, you click on each individual person. Now, when you have birthdays pull up, there's a whole list that'll say, just comment here, and you can easily send them there. I don't do that. I individually click on that person. Now, what happens when I individually click on that person? That tells Facebook, oh, she really does want to talk to that person. She wants to connect with that person. This isn't just a random thing she's doing to say happy birthday because we show them the list every day. She intentionally wants to go into Jeanette's profile and say, hey, Jeanette, on a personal level, happy birthday, right? So I click on their name, okay? And then I go onto their page and I like to post. It's super simple, right? I usually give them a heart, especially if they're a content creator. They make more money on that. So I'll go in, I'll heart their post. And then I go ahead and I interact. What does interaction mean? It means by commenting on one of their posts. It can be an emoji or a meme. I usually try to do a conversation starter if I can, or something relevant. I try to add value in comments when I can, when it makes sense to. And then, so I go in, I find who's having a birthday. I like to post, I interact with their content. If they have a story up, I interact with the story. And then I message them. Now, this is where some people are like, what do I send? And so I used to teach this system without the B, right? I used to teach the system where I'd say, well, just go click on your friends list, pick 20 people, and send them a conversation starter message. And a lot of people had a hard time with that because it felt a lot like cold marketing. And the reality is I wasn't saying go in there and offer them all of the things that you have available and spill, word vomit your business. I was saying start conversations to build relationships with these people so that you can get to the point of discovery. Okay. And so if you don't have friends or if you don't have friends with birthdays, you can always start at the letter A and go to the letter Z, and you can pick, I'm going to message 5 random people today. Okay. And you can message those people and start conversations. It's called social media. Means you got to be social. You got to use social media to connect with people. Now, some people are going to be like, why is this crazy person messaging me? And that's why we do the blimp system, because the birthday gives you a reason to message them. So if you've got birthdays, so now what you're going to do is you're going to go in, you're going to send them a happy birthday message, but you're going to do it so that it gives them a reason to respond back. So it's not just happy birthday, Selena. It's, hey, Selena, happy birthday. What are you doing for yourself today? Are you up to anything special today? Or what are you doing? See, now that's the difference. Not are you up to something special? What are you doing that's special for you today? Okay. Where are you going for dinner tonight? What plans do you have today? Open-ended questions, not a yes or a no, not are you having fun today? What are you doing for fun today? Okay. That's what engages the conversation back. Now, not all of them is a swing and a hit. Some of them you miss. Some of them you'll send them a happy birthday, give you a thumbs up, and you just let it go. Okay. But I'm going to explain, if you do the blimp system, it doesn't matter if they ever respond back to you. The strategy behind this, besides being a decent human being, by the way, okay, there's strategy behind it. Okay. The strategy is by you going to their page, liking their post, commenting and engaging on their post, and then sending them a message. It tells the Facebook algorithm these two are friends and they really want to talk to each other. So inadvertently, regardless if they ever respond back to your birthday message or not, they will see more of your post. Now, if you're consistent with the things we just talked about, they're going to start seeing more super patch posts, more value posts, more of the things that, will attract them to you, whether that be as a friend or as a future customer or an associate. It's just going to attract them to you. It tells the algorithm, show me more of their stuff, let them see more of mine. Okay. And again, if you don't have birthdays, you can simply just send them a message and start conversation. If it's someone I've never talked to before, I'll say something like, wow, hi, my name's Krystle. I just realized we've been friends on here for some time and we've never introduced ourselves. I'd love to get to know you. And I'd ask them a random question. Okay. Or I look at their page and do a little recon. I do that. Okay. I think everyone on this page, I've stalked your page, just so you know, before we even knew each other. I went to your Facebook because that tells me, or at least if you're utilizing Facebook in that way, that tells me a little bit about who you are. It's a little window is into your life. Okay. Um, and so you start conversations. Oh, I see that you have a poodle. What's your poodle's name? Or have you, it's something random. Start a conversation. But if you do the blimp system with the birthdays, you don't have to think of what conversation starter you need. It's super easy. Happy birthday. What are you doing special for yourself today? Happy birthday. Did you get anything, and again, not yes or no. So finding the verbiage so that they respond back with an answer, not just a yes, no, thumbs up. Okay. But automatically that will increase the amount of views that, the amount of posts that they see of yours, because it tells the algorithm we're friends, we connect. It's social media. You have hundreds of people probably on your friends list that you never connect with and you never see. Okay. And this is also, some people are like, well, I post all the time and you never comment on it. Or I posted about a birthday party and you didn't comment on it. Well, with this structure, my algorithm is forever changing. My algorithm is constantly going. It's a wheel. It's always going because I'm always interacting with people every day. Also, when you do the blimp system, it guarantees, as long as you're consistent, it guarantees that you will connect with every single one of your friends at least once a year. And that means something to people. getting a personalized message. I love voice clips, but if not, I know Mark Jackson has a picture he sends out with, Kiss Coach, and he's talking, happy birthday, and I think that's incredible too because it's still personalized. Okay? But just that personal message of happy birthday, are you going to dinner tonight? Where are you going to dinner? Happy birthday. What did you get for yourself today? Happy birthday, something, okay? When you do that, when you do that, um, there's a personal side of people that it means something. It means something more than just the happy birthday on their wall. I promise you. It really does. Uh, it really does. Okay. Now, this is the hardest part, but the easiest part, and most people will skip over this. And I'm telling you now, I didn't invest an hour to teach you this. Don't skip over this. Okay. And that's +5. That's the P in our blimp system, +5. Notice it says on that sheet, do not skip this part. Okay. That means you go to their friends list. Oh, it's feeling spammy. It's not, I promise. You go to their friends list and you add 5. Now, if they don't have an open friends list, you omit that and you move forward. You go to the next person, okay? There are different ways that you can do. I don't want to complicate it. You could get into some of their bigger posts and you could you could add 5 people from there. But really, when you go into their friends list and you just pick 5 people from there. Now, I am not telling you to do recon. I am not telling you to get into their friends list and go through the whole list and spend an hour figuring out who you want to add to your page. And this is what I'm going to tell you here. If you're using your social media platform as your business and personal page, okay, which again, in my opinion, is the best way. It's the best way when you're in network marketing because people come to you because of you, not because of your product. You have to remember that. We have a great product. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If my personality wasn't behind it on my platform, no one would buy it. I promise you that. But do not spend a lot of time figuring out. Now, if you're someone that is one way or another, I know people that don't like to add they're women, they don't like to add men who don't like to add women, then you choose that because you get to choose your network, right? You get to choose who you bring into your platform there. But it does shut them out because there's a lot of people either way that you could help with Super Patch. But so anyway, so you're going to go into their friends list, you're going to add 5 people. Now, if you have to click on their page and you do a quick scroll to make sure, they're not entirely against who you are or your morals, then do that, but don't invest a lot of time. Now, I did not say message those people. We're not spamming those people. Okay, we're boosting our platform. Now, Kim's not on here, but I know Kim, she's added like hundreds of people over the last few months just by incorporating this strategy. Her following has gone up, her engagement is up, her conversations are more. This strategy works. This is the strategy that took me from 1,400 to nearly 200,000 followers now. It works. Okay, but it works because it's non-invasive. Hey, happy birthday. What are you doing special for yourself today? I just liked 2 of their posts. I just commented on one of them, and now I'm just adding 5 random people. I'm never going to comment. I'm never going to message them unless they message me or their birthday comes around. Those people will add you if they want to add you. If they message you and they're like, well, this is a little creepy, Jeanette. Why did you add me on social media? My response is always, you know what? Social media is for getting to know people. And I just thought that, you look like someone that I would connect with, and nothing weird, but I added you because I'm always open to meeting new people and encouraging and engaging in conversation. And at that point, they can make a decision if they want to add you or not. That's not the biggest goal. The biggest goal is making sure that you're always building. And when you add people on social media, when you engage on social media, when you comment, excuse me, that's engagement. When you message, when you're interacting, all those things, that tells the algorithm, oh, they're using this for social purposes, which is what the app is intended for. Okay. It's not set up in our favor for network marketers. It doesn't want to see all of our links. It doesn't want to see our websites plastered all over the place or save 25% here or do this or do that. Now, do I still post those? Yes, because some people will still see them, especially the people that end up being directed to my page. Okay. They're going to start seeing it based on what they see, that magazine, those articles, right? But don't skip that step. Don't skip that step because this is how you build the following. Okay, that's how you build it. But the entire strategy is set up to constantly keep your algorithm moving. Constantly. That's why I said I don't always see your post. I don't always see everyone's post because I'm always doing this. I'm always keeping my algorithm moving. So, and I have this listed somewhere, probably on Miracle Workers or whatnot, but it's definitely out there. So that's the blimp system. That's the strategy. That's how you master the algorithm, right? And there's a few other tidbits and points in my book, but those are the basics. Those are the things that really help you to cultivate an environment of people, a community of people that you want in your world. You want, okay? And the other thing I'll say to you is there's a block button. You can delete people, you can block them. Okay. So if you end up in a position where you're like, gosh, I added 5 people and one of those, I added 50 people in the last week and one of those people were a little different or they weren't vibing with who I am or, whatever it is, or their content was kind of icky, just block it and move forward. Block it. I promise you, they don't even know. They don't, unless, they don't even know. Okay. If someone comes on your post, if someone's engaging in your content that you're not comfortable with, block them, delete them, move forward. Okay. If you post something about super patch and someone's super negative about it, okay, we're not looking for no's. We're not looking for no's. Brush it off and move forward. Okay. Brush it off. I know I've gone over, I think I planned 90 minutes to start with this anyway. So I'm going to give you engagement post ideas and how I follow up. So I'm just going to do that by sharing an experience that I had last week. And this is how the flow of things really do go for me when it comes to cold marketing because of how I've been consistent on my social media. Okay. Because I incorporate everything I just shared with you. Now, this isn't things that I just read off the internet. These are things I've done over the years to help me build a following of 200,000. These are the things that I've done and learned and trialed and errored and figured out that did work and didn't work, that we've covered. Okay, so these are all things that I truly do. I do. Okay. So about a week ago, I posted a picture, and pictures are always best. We want to see the patch, we want to see the person. And it's not so much, I don't have a patch in front of me, but it's not so much to be like, oh, here's a super patch. Okay. Something like mine's on my legs today, but patch on your arm, forehead. I don't care where you put it. Okay. Depending on your personality. But that patch being in the picture with you says a lot. That patch being on your skin says a lot more. Okay. So yes, we all have the post where we're holding up a patch. Yes, we all have the post where it's just the patch. We all have the post where it's something corporate had posted, maybe just information. Okay. That again is the trial and error things, figuring out different types of content that engage with different people. But the ones that get the most engagement are the ones where that patch is on my body and you can see it. And it's a nice picture of myself or my kids or someone else, whatever it is, especially myself. Okay. And in this case, I posted something like, since wearing this patch, I have not been in as much pain. If you struggle with pain, say freedom or something like that. Okay. And so, of course, I had lots of people comment. And I'm going to tell you, 80% of those people never respond back to messages, or you get to the point of where you send them a video and they don't respond. But the reality is we're planting seeds. Even if you share, and it takes people like an average of 8 to 10 times of seeing something before they're like, maybe I should try it. Okay. Unless you're really someone that's like myself, where I was, and I was like, well, if it's going to work, I'm going to do it, you know? So this gal had commented on that post, and she said, I struggle with pain. I would like to try this, something like that. And immediately my response, now I always comment in the comments. This is what makes the algorithm say, oh, they're really socializing on this post. Okay. My post didn't have my link. My post didn't talk about sales. Okay. My post only talked about pain. And so because of that, it didn't trigger anything in the algorithm and say, oh, this is a spam post, or, again, they don't favor network marketing. You have to be creative. Okay. And if you need some tidbits, again, just go to my page. I'm not perfect, but look at the people that are actively sharing on social media in any network, and you're going to see what I mean. Okay. But you'll be able to watch as you go. You'll be able to feel who's authentic and who's not. And that's important as well. And when you're in your authentic self, people don't see through your persona because it's who you are. Okay. So anyway, so she commented on the post, and immediately, maybe not immediately, but in my time. Okay, that's the other thing. Don't comment on those engagement posts. Who would like to try a freedom patch? Don't start commenting back and responding until you have time. Because now you have to think, I have to invest time to have conversations. And the business we're in, it's not just about I'm going to send someone a link and hope they buy. We're in the relationship business. We want to know how we can help you, because I can take you from a pain patch and be like, well, you should probably try focus and peace as well, and maybe even liberty based on what you just told me, right? And I'm a note taker. Don't worry, these notes don't go anywhere. I never share these with anyone, but I used this as an example last week. I'll cover it. I keep this notebook in my bag with all my patches. I have a little bag that we carry. And when I have conversations with people, let it be a random person that's asking me about patches or someone on my team or just interacting in that way, I take notes because I want to be able to go through and be like, okay, I can help you here, but I also want to be actively listening and not interrupt them. And I'm a big interrupter, and this is how I avoid interrupting, is being able to write it down so I can come back to that thought. Like Randall and I had a great conversation about a week or so ago, and I took notes because not because I'm going to use them for a test later, but because I wanted to be active in that conversation and be able to come back to the points that he had mentioned, that I was like, this might be something I can add value to your life, and vice versa, and PS, we met online, we met through here, all of us, every person on here now, we met online, I mean, unless you're watching later, and then we met, who knows, maybe we haven't met yet. So this gal, she comments on the post, I comment back, I'm going to message you. Now, some people will tell you, not most, some people will say, well, I ask if I can message them. They commented on my post. They know I'm going to message them. That was an invite to their messenger. Okay. Now, I did not say, I'm going to message them and say, here's all of our specials. Here's my link. Go and order. Okay. Instead, what I did is I sent her a voice clip, and I sent her a message, and I do ask permission to send a voice clip because I don't want to go through 3 minutes of recording something or a minute of recording something if they're not going to listen. So I do say something along the lines. And in this case, I was like, hey, Pat, I'm so glad that you commented on my post. Okay. I used to thank people for their time until I realized my time is also valuable. Okay, so it made me feel inferior to people. And I realized that no, I have value to give to them as well. So while I still sometimes say, well, thank you so much for your time and such out of respect, the reality is the mindset of that is different. I know that I'm worthy of their time. Okay. And so she commented, and I got into her inbox. I said, hey, Pat, I'm so glad that you commented on my post about pain. Do you mind if I send you a quick voice clip? And she came back, she said, no, I don't mind. Go ahead and send it. And in this time, this is where I take the opportunity. Now, I have two different ways. I have a pre-recorded clip that I can just send if I'm being a little lazier that day. Okay. Or I have where I just jump on and I speak from my heart. And that's what I did this day. I said, I told her a little bit about my story, not very long. It wasn't a long voice clip by any means. Okay. I just said, hey, about a year and a half ago, a friend of mine had shared this video with me about this patch, and I was struggling in this area, this area, and this area, and it's truly helped me so much. I'm really glad you commented on that post. I'm going to send you a quick 6-minute video to check out. When you're done watching that, notice I didn't ask permission. I didn't say, can I send you a 6-minute video? I said, I'm going to send you a 6-minute video that gives you a little bit more information. Once you've watched that, just let me know, and let's talk about how I can help you. Okay. She watched the video. I also sent her, in that time, she had exchanged a little bit of conversation back and forth. I sent her a sheet that kind of shows what each of our patches help with. Okay. And then she got back to me. She said, I watched the video. Well, it just so happened, normally my next step would be, okay, well, let's get on a phone call, or let's talk a little further, an opportunity recording, whatever it is. Well, we were about to hop into an opportunity call too. So I just sent her just thinking, well, maybe she'll jump on, maybe she won't. I said, well, we're actually about to have an information call. Would you mind just jumping on and listening in? It'll help you get a better idea. There's even some testimonies that are shared there. She said yes. She jumped in. She stayed only for the 6-minute video. And if you know that Mark Jackson does that right away in the beginning. It was one of his calls, and we she jumped on, she jumped right off. I didn't know what to think. Okay. And then I messaged her. I followed up with her during that call. I said, hey, I saw that you came on and you jumped off. If you don't have time now, I can send you a recording of a video information call that we did before. And she said, no, no, no. I just want to know which patches will help me. I'm ready to order. And so I said, oh, okay. So then, of course, this was a really easy peasy way to go about it, but just the flow of things, sometimes you get more questions. Sometimes you have to, do a little more discovery. And I had already started the discovery process through that, but not quite. I was actually kind of shocked that she was like, oh, I'm ready. Let's see what this is about. So I sent her my link during that time. I was still on the call. And she's like, okay, is there a way I can order that you can help me? And I said, actually, once I jump off this call, how about I just give you a call? Will that work for you? Now, my intentions were if she's in this call and it's a little harder to, for lack of better words, close her, then I was going to get her on a 3-way call. Cause yes, leaders do 3-way calls. You guys, we do 3-way calls. Okay. I was going to get her on 3-way call with anyone I could, and instead I got on a phone call with her and I did discovery. And what that was is I listened to her. I told her again a little bit about my story and I asked her questions. Tell me where you struggle. And in that moment, when you get to that point, you have to think of yourself as a professional in what you're doing. You have to switch that mode when you're having conversations with people, not to like I'm going to prescribe them something, but in that moment, I have the authority to say, I know what my patches and my technology can help with. Let me share with you what they can help you with. Okay. And so I did a little discovery with her by asking her, where did your pain start? And I always am very cautious to not be very direct in that sense. I'll say something like, I hope that this isn't too much of a vulnerable question, but do you mind sharing or expanding a little bit more on what causes your pain? Because that helps us to know. Now she's like, my chest is always tight. Well, that could be stress. That could be lack of sleep. That could be acid reflux. We don't. So they're getting to the point of where we hear more about the symptoms and less about like the ailment, but more about how it impacts them on a daily basis will help you through discovery to say, okay, these are the patches that I use or that this person used or that this person or this testimony or, thousands of testimonies that we have that, they actually said they had something similar to what you're describing. This would work best for you. And that's what I did in that scenario is I did discovery. It was a little backwards how I felt like it went, but the key was getting her in the message, showing her that she's a person, showing genuine interest in her and what she needs. And I didn't talk about myself the whole time. Okay. And then through that, the follow-up process, right? Now I have other folks that will comment on posts similar. I'll do the same thing. Hey, I'm messaging you. Check your inbox. I'll message them. Hey, I'm so glad that you commented on my post. Okay. Can I send you a voice clip? And I do the same process. Now, some of those people will get to a point where they start to share in the inbox. And we say it all the time. If you talk long enough to people, a few minutes, they're going to spill their world, especially if there's someone struggling. And especially if you're a relatable person that they can say, okay, she gets it. They get it. He gets it, and so in that case, then I do more messenger comments. The key is to always get them. I never get into conversations in my comments. If people are like, how much are they? How much of this? How much of that? I try to always direct them back to the messenger because that's how I can give them the best information. I can't give them a ton of information specific to them in the comments based on one message, one comment. You have to get to discovery. That comes by being an authentic human being. That comes by genuine interest in what you're doing, by having the patience to know that it's not always going to result in a sale. Sometimes it results in someone watching you for 8 years before they join your team. Sometimes it results in someone waiting 3 months before they order a patch. Sometimes it results in, I'm really scared and nervous to order these, and you sending them a sample. Okay. You have to be open to knowing it could go any direction, and you have to be patient enough to know that if you're genuine about building relationships, it will always work out in your best interest. It will always work out in your best interest. And, we use the used car salesman terminology, which used carsmen get a bad rep. I'm not at all saying anything negative about someone that sells cars. Okay. But if you walk onto the lot and that person really needs a sale, that person really needs that car gone. Okay. I think we've all probably experienced it in one way or another. Maybe we've been that person, but the reality is people see right through you. They feel it. They can feel it in the urgency, because it's not the urgency of you need to get this patch on your skin because it's going to help you. It's the urgency of I need that sale. There's a difference. And when you're patient with people, you can understand that, you know, it's not easy to talk about your issues. We know this. It's not easy to talk about the things that you've gone through or that you're struggling with, because a lot of people that are struggling in one way or another feel like no one can relate to them. No one gets it. We get it. The mass majority of the people here at Super Patch get it. And so discovery, being patient, being your authentic self, and being consistent, including in the follow-up. I'm not telling you message them every single day, but if you start a relationship with someone in the sense of we're getting to know each other, even if you hope that one day, listen, there's nothing wrong with hoping one day they'll try your product. Just be open to the fact that they're probably hoping the same. Okay. And so just keep that in mind when you're having conversations, because I've spoken to people that will get into, Messenger, like, well, I have this product, and if you try this, I'll try that. Or, you have to be open to understanding each person as an individual as to where that relationship's going to develop into. But if you don't use social media to be social, and all you do is get on social media to post once in a while and to maybe comment on a few posts, you can't ever expect someone to know what's actually what your agenda is, what you're trying to do. And what we're all trying to do is get these patches on a billion lives. We're all in the same mission. We're not in competition, because the reality is if someone came to me and asked for information, and somewhere along the lines decided they connected with someone else that's, more compatible with them, then at least they got the information, at least they're wearing the patches, but I never force it. And once I got to that, and Steve Schultz taught me in the beginning, and this was I'm telling you, this is the number one thing that helped my mindset. And that was, we are not looking for the no's. We're looking for the yeses. Your job is only to educate. You share your experience, you educate them, let them make their own mind up. And if the answer is no, then you move forward. That doesn't mean you stop talking to someone entirely, because a no can always turn into a yes. Okay. And P.S., a yes can turn into a no really quickly when you make it all about you. You may never hit that yes if you make it all about you. And that's what my whole point about mastering the algorithm, getting behind and adding true value to people, and making sure that you have a purpose in what you're doing. You have a plan. Okay. Okay. So that being said, I'm going to challenge all of you. I'm just making sure through my notes that I said everything, because I didn't think I was going to speak for 90 minutes, but I did. I could probably speak for like 180 minutes on this, because it's so passionate. It's something I've really spent a lot of time doing. But my challenge for you all is to get a patch on your skin and go make a post. And don't make it a post that's like, try my super patches. Listen, none of you are infomercial. Maybe someone in, thousands of people that'll watch this over time. But none of you, as far as I know, are infomercial creators, right? We don't have to be like, wow, check out this pen. It clicks and it goes. We just have to say, this pen really writes nice, and I like the way it fits in my hand. Okay. We don't have to embellish anything we do here. So my challenge for you is to get a patch on your skin some way or another, and make a post with your face, with you. Okay. And whatever patch, there you go. Whatever patch is the patch for you. This is the patch. You can't go a day without. This is the patch you're most passionate about. Okay. You go and you make a post and you say, I don't know about you guys, something along these lines. It doesn't have to be verbatim. Okay. If you need help, just message me. I don't know about you guys, but I used to struggle with balance so bad that I have to crawl to my bathroom floor. And now this patch has helped me so much. If you struggle with balance, I'd love to talk to you. Something along the lines, okay? If you struggle with balance, say liberty. If you struggle with pain, say freedom. If you struggle with pain, say pain. Pain, okay? And then when they comment, you get into that inbox, you talk to them, you cultivate those. And if you need help along the way, regardless where you are in our genealogy of whoever's watching this later, you get to your sponsor, you get to that next leader that you connect with, that you know is going to get on that call with you, and they're going to give the right information in the right amount of time. Okay. And you do a three-way, or you get them into a group chat with that person, and you learn from the folks that have the experience into doing that discovery process. Okay. And if you don't know where to start, then I'm always happy to help you figure out who that would be for you. And so you move that conversation, but don't force it, don't rush it. We're about helping people, not about that sale. Okay. I'm going to jump into the comments quick here. I'm just going to look, and then I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate 90 minutes is a good, I think it's a good time frame for us to have Zoom calls, like to get through a whole actual lesson and learn. I have two Facebook pages, one that produces all ads and the other that appears to be a page that I share things. So should I also add or change one that I have to a single super patch and contain videos and comments? Now that's up to you. I chose early on that I was just going to have one page. I chose that I I am not the person that wants to have multiple pages, and for me to be able to share who I am in my journey, because my voice is my purpose. What I have to say to people and the connection that I have with people is why I share on a personal page. However, there are many people that just have pages that are specific to their business, and they're very successful as well. The key is to make sure you're consistent in that way on both. So if you're only talking about super patch, don't cross them ever, if that's your intention. And if it is more about super patch and you're just putting videos and things like that, make sure that when you get into the inbox, you're still building the relationship, but you're a little more direct because they expect it. If you have a business page that's specific to products, they're expecting that you are going to handle them almost like a customer service, but you still need to cultivate that relationship in a way. It's just probably a little bit different. If you're on your personal page and you're doing a good plethora, and I always say like one business post, one personal post, one engagement post, things like that. If you think about that kind of plan or content plan for your business, your page, excuse me, then you always know, okay, I'm always going to have a business post in one way or another. I'm always going to have a post that talks about the product in one way or another. Business meaning opportunity, by the way. I'm always going to have a post that relates people to my topic, and I'm going to encourage people. That's what I do. So, and then let's see, are there any set rules on Facebook as to the ads you can post? Furthermore, what's an average of posts that we can post? Oh, okay. So we just answered that question of how many posts. You can post as many posts as you want on Facebook every day. The key is value. Make sure that they make sense, right? But if you have a page where you're only posting super patch, you could post 10 super patch. You could post 12 super patch posts every single day because they're all different content. You have 12 different patches to choose from. Ads you can post, that's a little different. Again, Facebook is not like they're not set up for network marketing. We have to crack that code, right? And so when it comes to different ads and such, it's just about kind of looking into what their preference are when you're posting that ad. I put up a beautiful picture yesterday, a gorgeous picture of a woman that was wearing one of our Lumi patches. It was just beautiful. She was sitting like this. She had a shirt on, but you couldn't see it, and they flagged it for nudity, so I had to take it down. And it was just a gorgeous post. So, but then I see other content where they allow it through. And so it's really just kind of trial and error through the system. And then is it okay to share things you like with others from your general Facebook page? Some friends like it and get thumbs up, whereas really hear from others. Okay, so It depends on your network. If you're someone that always shares videos or you share posts from other places to like Messenger, um, the problem with some of that, I don't know if it is kind of a problem, is that there's so much spam out there now that people are always afraid that someone's getting hacked. So that's why I also prefer my personal page to be my business page, is because I'm entirely on there. I maintain that page. You can see I'm a real person, that I'm not just like a bot that's posting or commenting or messaging. And so it makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. But I would say that if people got a bunch of video messages from me randomly one day, they would probably think that I had been hacked. And so I think that if you want to share a post with someone, that tagging that person in that post is probably your best option versus sharing it through the messenger, if that's not something that they're used to seeing, or accompanying it by a separate message that says something like, hey, I thought you'd really like this, and making sure that it can, because if you already have a relationship with that person, giving them some kind of indicator that it's actually you sending that message. Like I use the word lovey a lot, to certain people, and so they know it's me. They just know because of my terminology. Let's see here. According to Facebook, I only have some around 500 followers. However, I rarely receive a thumbs up from over 5 people unless it reflects to my parents. Sorry, I'm a southerner, but and not to, am doing better to hearing you, but I still having trouble at times. Eat slow. Oh, okay. Sorry, I talk too fast. Um, well, you can read slower than I talk, Jeanette. Just let me know. Um, okay, so again, followers don't equal engagement. Followers don't equal customers. Followers don't equal team members. You building through the strategies that we talked about, making sure that you're doing things to get people engaging on those, and making sure that they have value in those posts, and again being consistent, is what's going to get people interacting more. And then just trial and error. Again, my network may like something different than your network, and so making sure that you kind of play with it a little bit to figure out what your network is wanting. Let's see. Yeah. Do I ever delete someone who wants to be friends with you and you've never heard their name? Absolutely, every single day. Every single day I delete someone. I don't add people to my Facebook if they've added me unless I do some research on them. So I will open up their page, and if I don't see any content, if I and I, acknowledging that some people do have their page set to private, um, I get that, but there's a way to kind of see through that a little bit when you look at their pages. I also look at like when was it created, things like that. I do a little bit more research on those people because I do need to protect my piece. Even though my page is public, people that are friends with you, it enables them to do a little bit more in your Facebook. And so I'm always a little cautious with that. So yes, I say no to people all the time. I've had people message me that wanted to do business with me that I've also turned down. It's all about your code of ethics and what makes you comfortable. And if it's not someone that aligns with you, then it is your social media account, your life. And I promise you, there's no reprimand if you don't add someone. So don't ever feel like you have to. Yes, I was saying blimp, BLIMP. And then so okay, sorry, I'm just reading. So you're saying not to mention our products, but rather focus on each individual. You're gonna unmute real quick and tell me what you mean by that. Is it letting you? Uh-oh, hold on. You're muted.
I
There you go.
can't because I changed the color of the chat and I don't know how I did it. I don't know. I can't get out of it. So anyway, what I meant by that was, should I have a combination of our product versus their being interested in them?
Yeah, so I think that the interest in the person should always come first. So we know based on the post that they commented on, especially if you're doing like the engagement post with the pain patch or sleep. And you guys, I mean, sleep, balance, and pain, like if you can't find a few people to comment there, right? But the key is remembering, again, that comes consistency over time. I love Facebook memories because I can always see like posts that I've made in the past that I thought, oh, this is gonna go. There's gonna be hundreds of thousands of people that comment on this post, and I got like one heart. And then there'd be posts that, didn't make sense, that all these people would share it and such. And so um when you're making these posts and they comment, you kind of already have an idea of why they're commenting, right? You know that they're struggling in one way or another, especially if you make it specific to a patch. Because I mean, I do posts where I'm like, if you struggle with focus or pain or this or that, and you list off a few things to engage interest. But the reality is that's just kind of an interest grabber to pull them back to my magazine, right, that we talked about earlier. That's just an interest. Those are just like the ads to get them back. And it's not necessarily, I don't pay for advertisement, by the way. I do everything organically. The blimp system helps you grow your system organically. That's why I created it. So because look, I'm a disabled mom of 5. I didn't have the money to do the rest, right? So you already kind of have an idea of what product they're interested in for what issue. But when you turn the interest on them versus what you have to sell, then they're going to tell you what they need. And there's things in sales that we look for, like buying words, right? You actively listen for buying words. You actively listen for pain points, and then you find a way through communication, through discovery, through being authentically a good person. Okay, I'm not saying bad people can't sell good products. I'm just saying this goes a long way. But when you hear those things, and again, that's why I take notes sometimes, so that I can come back and I can say, okay, well, you mentioned that, you have a friend that struggles with this. Let me ask you. And then you go back, so you mentioned that you struggle with pain. Let me ask you, and then it opens the door to talk about the products that we have versus, when you just throw the products, again, it comes to going back on the car lot where they really need the sale, and they're just like, we have this SUV and that SUV and this minivan, and you're like, I was here for a Porsche. So there, you just have to be able to listen to them. And then, yeah, I do the same thing when I do one-on-ones with people. As far as like sending them the video, no, no, I don't share the video. If I'm in person with someone, I usually just put the patch on them. If I'm on a call with them, I just tell them, right? And then I say, well, if you want more science, because I'm not a neuroscientist, Jay's a neuroscientist. He has enough of that research and such. I'm just a happy customer. So if you want more information on like the science behind it or anything like that, I have a video I can share with you. There's tons of testimonies and tons of different studies and research and stuff that I can share with you. You just let me know and I'll share those as well. So it's always just additional. I keep it in my back pocket because if I'm having a conversation with them, I've skipped over it. It's like the cheat code. I've gone from whoop. Okay, if someone were to comment on my post and I was like, "Hey, can you get on a quick phone call?" versus "Can I send you a message?" Right? And if it's someone I know, so this is the other thing too. If it's someone that's commented a million times, I've already sent information to, I know personally or through social media interactions, that enables me to say, instead of "Can I send you a voice clip?" that enables me to go, "Hey, you want to hop on a phone call quick, Selena? Let's chat. Let's have a phone call." And then the rest of it is just resources in my back pocket. If it comes to the point where they're not feeling as, they're not confident yet in trying the patches or joining the team or anything like that, that's where the three-way call comes in. That's where the opportunity call comes in. That's where the 6-minute video, there's a minute, I think it's a minute and a half video. That's where those resources come to allow you to further, make them feel comfortable, because really it's really never lack of interest, it's lack of confidence. And when you're first building and you're building on your social media, even if you've had social media for however long it's been existed, right, it doesn't matter. When you start to get intentional about it, it's going to feel a lot like they should just get it. But the reality is until they see you consistently showing up and like in a good pattern, like consistently being that same person all the time, it's the confidence side of things that hold most people back. Even the gal that I got on the phone, I called her from my own personal cell phone number. I've now talked to her in 3 different forms of ways. I authenticated myself by sending my link to her and her seeing my picture on my link. All the different things. She still said to me on the phone, "How do I know this isn't a scam?" Okay. And I had to use my character, I had to use my personality to kind of gain that trust, because I realized it wasn't a lack of interest, it was a lack of confidence. And through discovery, when you build those relationships with people, that's the door, that's the wall you're breaking down. And so, yeah, so sorry, that was a different answer to the question you asked me, but the reality is each individual is so different that I can never say it's going to go this way every single time, because I'm not scripted. I just talk about what feels right in that moment. And that's what sets us above being that salesperson that needs the sale versus wanting to solve issues for people that need them, and that goes a long way. So, did you guys have any other questions? Thank you guys so much for staying on this long. And I know that you got some tidbits. Normally, I'd say, I hope that you found this valuable, but I'm going to say, I know you got some stuff somewhere in this training to help you along the way. But we'll take a couple minutes real quick here before we jump off. If you have any more questions or statements, anything like that, just unmute.
I got one more.
Okay. I love it.
uh, I've been talking with my cousin. She's younger than I am, much younger than I. She's just had her first baby. But anyway, she's asked me a question. I've asked her many times to go watch the 6 minute video, and she declares she has. But she's asking questions that's putting me to thinking she has not watched those 6 minute videos, because if she had, she would know the answer to her question. How do you deal with something like that?
I just answer their question. I just answer it. Some people don't have the patience to sit through a 6 minute video. And I'm going to be honest, I love that video. I maybe shouldn't say this on recording, but it is boring to me. I just I watch it and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I could see how people would really find it cool. But for someone like me, I'm just like, tell me the answer so I can get to the point. Uh and I think that that's our job, right? Like, so even though she's seen it, unless you don't know the answer, which I think you do, right? Just answer it. Just, okay, well, it was in this video. And that's a way I direct people as well. If someone were to say, well, how do I find this? I don't know where it is in Miracle Workers. I usually will say something like, well, you'll do this. You'll go to the search bar, you'll type this in, you'll find it here. But I'll go ahead and tag you this time so that you can find it easily. So I gave them how, but then I also connected them with the answer, because a lot of people, again, need that encouragement to actually follow through with what we want them to do. So I would just answer it. And then, I mean, that's probably, I mean, some people might say, well, move on, but I'll tell you, just answer it, because some people just don't have the patience to sit. And if they've already kind of gotten lost and bored, maybe, or confused about the technology side of things, it might just be kind of going over their head, and they just need a simple layman answer. This is what it is.
Well, I know Mark said that he had to watch it 5 times before
Yeah. Yeah. And he's a nurse. So I'm just saying, you,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being on today. I'm glad we recorded it. I think this was a great training. And we will work on our next training. Well, I'll announce it in our chat, because I don't have my calendar here in front of me. But we're going to do a training, and we're going to talk about DMOs on our next training. We're going to talk about, yep, daily method of operation. We'll talk about how to stay consistent in your business when you have a little time to do it. And then we'll talk a little bit more about how I stay consistent with even social media posting through scheduling posts, or through just doing strategic things throughout the day that allow me to, like I said, capitalize on my time instead of investing all of it to doing, what seems like I'm doing all day long. So, okay, well, you guys have an amazing day. We'll talk soon. And thank you so much. I should say, have a super day. I should find a way to end these. Super. I'm just kidding.
Thank you, Krystle. Bye.